Sup, Ryu here for the Yu-Gi-Oh! Council. Welcome to Coffee Time, your Monday evening discussion video series, because we always release in the evening. That's when I'm typically having my coffee. This is the Invasion Vengeance set preview and review, pretty much. We're going to go super in-depth. We're going to take our time going through all the major key players to this set. All the things you should care about. The main money card, which is not totally awesome, and I'll explain why. And pretty much what will be a very, very, very meta-defying set. Because we're going to see a big change here. So, before this video gets started, let me say this much. Go grab some coffee, some soda, some tea, whatever you want to drink. I'm probably going to have some water throughout the video. You know, you won't hear that. But, before this video gets started, if you guys enjoyed the video at any point, please drop a like, drop a comment, and subscribe for more, because it does help out the channel. This is going to be a super long one, and I've been spending the past 4 days preparing for you. So, quick thank you for watching. Invasion Vengeance is a set that's coming to the TCG, arriving this Friday. Now, the Monday I release this, obviously, it's Halloween. Happy Halloween, everyone. We typically don't do that here, but at the end of the week, when we get to Friday, you're going to be able to go and purchase the set. Now, we will have the set on Wednesday as typical council tradition for the past 4 years or so. 3 years, 4 years, whatever it is. And with all that crap said, let's talk about the set. The major things from the set you should be giving a shit about. The things that will probably have the most impact, or could have the most impact going forward. I'm going to be talking about the major key players, the rogue, and then of course your casual stuff. I'm going to try to go in as much as possible throughout this video. Let's start with the obvious. Treat Toad. Its name, totally stupid name, but amazing card. Now here's why it's not the money card. This will probably be at first the money card, but overall should not remain that way, because it's only able to be used in certain decks that can bring it out. Not every single deck can use it. What can every single deck use from this set that's going to get the most mileage for the money is the dimensional card that comes in here, Dimensional Barrier. We talked about it on Tech Tuesday, and it's fucking amazing. People are starting to grab onto that concept of like, oh my god, that card is amazing. So you're probably instantly disliking the videos. I said totally awesome is not the end-all be-all card of the set, and it's actually Dimensional Barrier. Sorry, Dimensional Barrier. I may make that mistake a few times. But Dimensional Barrier is something that can easily just stop you from playing Yu-Gi-Oh! No Exceeds, no Synchros, no Rituals, no... I know I'm missing one here. Oh, no Fusions. You can call it whatever you want, and this is something that's going to affect much more than just a 6-month period. It's going to affect the game moving forward as long as it's not limited. It is going to be a near staple in side decks at the very least. Trust me, this card deserves the hype and the price tag that's going to come along with it. Vermilion Dragon Mech is an interesting take on a synchro that we have not seen in a long time. It's like a poor man's Trishulia, pretty much, or Trish. Now, the interesting thing about this is you could banish out your tuner, and then at the same time you can get it back, but keep in mind throughout the video we're going to be going in-depth on all these. This is just pretty much the preview into the in-depth of all of these. There's also a level 8 normal dragon tuner, which is called Dragon Core Hexer, which is something that most people are disregarding, but I think should be looked at more, because it opens a doorway for Blue Eyes to have a Ultimaya variant of the build that it typically uses. This opens a doorway for new, ways to play the deck, and it's not the same old rank 8 synchro for Spirit Dragon. This gives you a whole new fun boundary of stuff to do with it, and it's just from one card. You also have something like Venom Fusion Dragon. Is it Starving Venom Fusion Dragon? Yes. And you could bring this out in Lunar Lights, and it's been a long time since we've been able to say, yes, Lunar Lights got something really good, because it only takes 2 dark monsters. There's going to be a bunch of decks that can bring this out. You can even play this in Blackwings with is it King of the Swamp? Yes, King of the Swamp. You could drop King of the Swamp, get that polymerization, use your Blackwings for this, and then cut something on the board. It's got an amazing effect. Now, there's something interesting in the set called Summon Gate. I really haven't covered, but in short, I think it's interesting against like something like Dark Synchro, which wants to constantly spam the board. You're only going to allow them to do 3 Synchros. That's it. You don't get to do it no more. I don't know how well that's going to be. I guess if it's like a last option thing where you want more ways of stopping it, that's something you can use, but I'm not big of it. Now, as a Yang Zing player, I am uber excited for the doorway that opens from our Solemn Judgment, which is a retarded mental institution degree of Solemn Judgment, and of course, the new synchro, Dulong, which is just a brilliant, brilliant synchro. Thank you, Konami, for making Dulong a thing. If you hear any bumps at the back, we are in the reptile room. You know what that brings. By now, you should. If you're brand new, trust me, it's okay. You just may hear some like rumblings from that. Now, you're probably saying to yourself, but I don't care about Yang Zing. Well, you should, because you're going to probably see the metaphors variant a few times pop up, especially here on YouTube. Not just from me, from other people. You know, other people exist. And I just had to make that joke. But you're going to see it a lot. It's going to be spammed about a bunch of bit because it's super explosive, super, like, floaty. It's amazing. There's also a new pod. But this one's not secret rare like the last 40. This one's actually super rare. And since it's super rare, everyone can play it because it's going to be uber cheap. And it's actually got a nifty effect. Now, it's not as broken as something like Pod Desires, if you want to say broken. It's not a Pot of Greed. You're going to be able to target 3 banished monsters. I believe they're only monsters. We're going to go in depth on everything. Only 3 monsters and put them back to the deck. You're probably saying to yourself, that's crap. Why would I ever do that? Shirayui zombies. ABC. Things that want to keep their stuff banished out so they can utilize it later. You can now fuck over because of that. You can also use this if you're playing a deck that utilizes Fairy Tale Snow. Also something pretty interesting. Amazing Pendulum is something for magicians, which is still a deck because it's still topping every now and then, so this gives them something else to play with. But I think we're going to start seeing that every now and then start falling out. There's also new Fairy Tale Sleeper. It's interesting. We'll definitely talk about it. And of course, Space Dragster, because Space Dragster is your promo card that you guys got over the weekend. I haven't really shared my thoughts, and we're going to do that in this video, because now that that's pretty much the major stuff, and that's not to take away, of course, from Spiral or Subterra, that's like the major stuff that everyone and their mom's talking about right now. So, meta changes from the set. Let's break it down. We have Totally Awesome, who can be its own deck, or it can be Splashing Heroes. So get ready for a lot of Kaijus, a lot of Wing Dragon and Raw Spear modes to out all that stuff. Dark Holes, believe that or not. Starlight Road may start coming back in playability because of Twin Twisters and Raigeki. And if we see those Dark Holes or something along those lines with Mass Destruction, Starlight Road is definitely going to start seeing more play as time moves forward. As the game moves forward, we're going to see that more. Now, the other thing, of course, is everyone's going to ask me, is Subterra or Spiral's meta? No, they don't have what it takes. That's not a sign of disrespect. That's just pure, freaking honesty, as much as people are going to hate me. Now, Kaijus are always a great deck, but I think they're going to be one of the best, kind of anti-meta rogue decks really out there to play. So keep your eyes open for them. I'm working on the top 10 countdown for that, so keep your eyes open for that. That's all I really want to say about that. But, of course, there's a new Cyframe card. Cyframes will do what they always do. They'll just stop you from playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Pretty much. And if you know how to play against it, then you're good. Now, the main reason I bring up Totally is because Paleozoic actually get the final support in here. And that opens a doorway for them to become a full-fledged meta deck. And for them to become a full-fledged meta deck is a scary goddamn thought. Because just go to the Guide to Your Side video on it and prepare yourself, because it is going to be a pain and a half to deal with this deck, to say the least. Especially the fact that now they're going to have the Treat Toad, or Totally Awesome. They're going to drop it like it's hot, and then you're going to have to play over it. Hence, I constantly say, I really do think Kaiju stand a good chance with the Yang Zing stuff, with the Totally, with the Paleozoic, with even Subterra and Spiral. Is a good opportunity for something that can easily break boards and jump through and has its own version of Dark Hole. And of course you have standard Raigeki. There's all these different possibilities from it. Metaphors are definitely going to be something as well. that I think that most people will underestimate and say, oh, it's just another Pendulum deck. And that's exactly why you should be scared of it. Because in the OCG, it is the #1 deck right now. It outdoes ABC. The YCS from this past weekend, yes, I'm talking about the YCS and Invasion Vengeance set, is mainly I'm bringing up because ABC in the top 32 were extremely highly seen. Now, yes, Burning Abyss Phantom Knight did win, and that's mostly because of Floodgate cards that was able to stop ABC, but we don't know how well that will carry over to Metaphors. As I said time and time again for the past couple of weeks, the TCG players do know how to counteract stuff when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh. They know how to stop it from, being able to be played and just pretty much poop on the hype. They're good at that. I gotta give that to all of you. Okay, so as much as I want to go through every single card in the set one by one, we be here way more than just 40 minutes. So what I'm going to do, or attempt to do here, is I'm going to break them down in sections to make it more digestive to your ears. Let's put it that way. That sounds weird, but funny at the same time. Space Dragster is your sneak peek card, and it becomes a tuner, which is pretty interesting, a level 1. Now, you can tech this in with your Paleozoic Burgermeister deck. I don't really recommend that, but it is something interesting that you could do with that. But I think this card basically gets most of its playability out of mainly the Trap Monster deck. The Tiki, there's 2 Tiki decks. There's like the Tiki Traps, and then of course the Tiki other thing, which we don't talk about that one. But hey, that's the thing. Space Dragster, pretty interesting card. It's pretty much falls under casual, which is not a bad thing when I say something's casual and something's competitive. It's just to pretty much draw a line of rogue, competitive, and casual to fit it, to understand, to make it more easier. Dragon Core Hexer. You can play this in Blue Eyes, and it helps you bring out Ultimaya. It also allows you to do the same in Heretics. If you have the level 8 variant, it's interesting in itself because it is a trading target while also being Dragon Shrine and Silver's Cry, and of course, Gospel of Revival, which is super interesting for the simple fact that it opens a whole new dimension, no pun intended, whole new dimension for Blue Eyes to basically tap into, go in depth and go, holy shit, we can make Ultimaya, set a card and bring out Crystal Wing mad easy, hoorah! But the problem with that is, of course, everyone's going to be citing for Treat Toad, or Totally Awesome in this case. So you're going to see those Kaijus and those everything else that's going to tribute your monster out. So that fun deck that you want to make is not going to really be it just falls onto the more casual fan base side of things for the Blue Eyes. The Perform Pal stuff in here, the only real interesting one to me personally is Seal Eel, which has a really funny name. But he pretty much is like a mini Cold Wave for one set card, which may not seem super important, but it is interesting nonetheless. And that's why I just bring it up. Then we get to the Predator Plants. The Predator Plants have some interesting cards here, but they're only basically scratching the surface to what they'll be getting throughout the next couple of weeks, couple of sets and whatnot. I'm not too sure on when or if we're going to see everything out to the TCG. But right now, as it stands, again, just under casual, unfortunately enough. Then we get to the Super Heavy Samurai Soul Peacemaker. It's the only Super Heavyweight Samurai card in the monster section of Invasion Vengeance, the checklist, let's put it that way. And pretty much what you're going to do with it is really nothing. It's not really worth running, to be completely frank. We get 2 of the ciphers, the Raptor, the Mirror Knight. I say 2 because there is the Cypher Twin Blade that we have not gotten. And of course the Cypher Dragon we did. Now, these are interesting, but I don't really know what to make of them. And that's why I'm going to count on you guys to fill me in, because I have not looked at them. So I don't really even know where to place them. Then we get to Cardians, which there are the Clover with the Boar, the Maple with the Deer, and the Penny, I'm going to sound like Pony, because everything in my mind is like, hey, it looks like Pony, which is a Peony with Butterfly. Now, for those of you who don't understand, the Butterfly is a level 6 tuner that is counted as a level 2 tuner when it's on the board. It's going to take 5 monsters to invest into 1 synchro for the deck. So instantly falls onto the more casual part of the game because it's so easy to out and they can't generate the hand advantage that other decks can, so they lose out on pacing. If this was a long time ago, like 2005-ish, then the deck would be absolutely rogue at the very least. Now, we're not going to see that. We're just going to see them as the players who want to play the deck are going to play the deck, and that's cool by me. Then we get to Crystons. Now, Crystons plus Supply Squad is interesting, but at best we're talking low rogue status. But I honestly would probably just put them more onto, I hate to sound this way, the casual side of things, because they're not at full power, if I'm not mistaken. They may be in this set. I may be incorrect when I say that, but honestly, they just need more machine-type synchro monsters that are easier for them to bring out. Not their own version of Quasar, but just something. Now, I'm going to make it noted, I am fully aware that Crystons have a level 4 and a level 5 synchro that go into level 9, and that is something cool, and Supply Squad is amazing with them, and there is a Metaphors edition, but when it comes down to it, if you're going to play Metaphors with them, you're just pretty much better off playing Metaphors by Metaphors, you know? The Metaphors by Metaphors collection, a meta deck comprised of some of the best cards you will ever find in Yu-Gi-Oh! Then we get to the True King, which is a water-based True King. Now, for those of you who don't remember, Konami had the Elemental Lords, the Dragon Rulers, everyone remembers, but this is pretty much this generation's incarnation of them. So we had the fire one, now we have the water, I believe Earth is next, and then wind. It's pretty much what they did with Dragon Rulers, but it's brought out in 4 different sets. And of course, this one's Ultra. It's a major pass, even for casual, because I really can't think of any deck that's water-based that would want you to destroy 2 water monsters in your hand, and those 2 water monsters would trigger outside of maybe Greydell, if the ruling is correct, if I'm not half asleep right now, which I am. Then we get to the rare Metaphors. And I gotta say, this one is pretty much the only Metaphors that actually has an effect. But like I said before, since Metaphors are going to be at full power, and going by the OCG, I really do think it's going to come to that, and ABC, of course. Burning best fan tonight, because Konami just left it alone, which, again, pretty dumb, but besides the point. The Gemini Deck, best way to put it, gets its stuff here. It's an interesting casual deck. I know I'm probably going to piss someone off by saying it's a casual deck. That's nothing bad if I'm saying casual. It just means it's not competitive, and there's nothing wrong with saying that. Meteor Dragon Red Eyes Impact is the, of course, new fusion monster. But Red Eyes, like I said multiple times, have way too many restrictions on them. I know there is probably a much better way to play Red Eyes that is like more with Chaos Dragons and stuff, but it takes away from pretty much running the deck at its own support. If they took off the restrictions, the deck would be interesting to say the least. Sideframe Multi-Threader is pretty much what the deck needed without breaking the deck any further, and that's a good thing. I wish Konami would do more of that. Greydell Slime Jr., you're going to see this in a lot of the Treat Toad decks. I hate to sound that way, but it is what it is. Romage, get a new card. She's not that good. I believe that is the Synchro, if I'm not mistaken. No, that's the tuner monster. I forgot to get a tuner monster. So that's something I even brain farted on. I'm going to take a quick look. So during either player's turn, you can discard this card and target one aroma monster in your graveyard. Gain life points equal to that target. So it's interesting to say the least, because while your life points are higher and you control aromates, and this card's in your graveyard, it acts like a glow-up bulb. It's also a 0-point monster and a 0-point defense monster. So lots of casual stuff in the first 31-ish cards, to say the least. There's a Doki Doki monster. You may have pulled it at your sneak, to say the least. I believe, this is the Rock. It's got potential to be used with Subterrors, if you want to go that route. Would I recommend it? Not really. I would probably just say stick to the Prediction Princess side of things. Torquier, interesting. Not really seeing anything broken with it. Fairy Tale Sleeper. I already hate this card because it reminds me of Fairy Tale Snow, which is love-hate relationship. Love using it, hate seeing against it. And this is another one of those cases. It's going to be something that is probably short printed throughout the packs. And when you get it, hang on to it. Let's say it that way. Pandora's Jewelry Box. It's another pendulum monster. Nothing super exciting about it, because you have to control no cards in your extra deck to draw the 2 instead of your 1, which, I don't know. This just seems like it would be helpful in Monarchs right now. But again, it's just like, why? Why would you make this now? Like, when Monarchs were meta, it would have made them faster, and that would have been cool, but it is what it is. Cyber Angel, the new one, I believe it's the level 10 one. It's not really too amazing going on with it, because I don't really see the deck super duper heavily using it, to be fair. There is the new Ancient and Ascended monster, which is a blessing, no pun intended, for Saphira. So, for those of you not familiar with it, you may actually pull it out of your box, because it is a secret rare that is level 7, and of course it is the only ritual monster that is a secret rare, so it shouldn't be that hard. You can ritual summon this card with Sprite Blessing during either player's turn. When your opponent activates a card or effect that targets a monster you control, you can throw this into the graveyard pretty much and negate the activation. And during either player's turn, when your opponent would special summon a monster or monsters, you can return this card from your field to the hand and nullify that special summon. If you do, you banish it. So the reason I say it's it's a godsend for Saphira, it discards itself, and at the same time you're probably like, oh, why would I ever want to bounce it back? Because you instantly stop a special summon, and then you could discard this from the hand to protect Saphira from something that's going to target like Dragon Buster. And that in itself triggers Saphira to bring it back to the hand and utilize it again. So not only do you get to utilize it on field, but you get to utilize it in graveyard, which is always good. If you don't think that's good, well, I got 99 problems, but I got to disagree with you on this one. So anyway, that was a terrible joke, but moving on. Number 38, Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. I cannot talk highly enough about this card. Decks that are Dark Base and Fuse get the most benefit out of this. Decks that are called Black Wings and want to use King of the Swamp, it's a cool combo, but it's not going to do anything revolutionary to the deck that's going to push it up to a rogue status or a meta status any further. All you're really going to do is lose out on 3 cards to make this one. And honestly, you're better off just making a synchro that is going to give you more oomph for your money than this will. Now, I'm not putting the card down, because obviously Lunar Lights are so good with Lunar Lights. It really is. There is a Metaphors, which is a secret rare, which of course is going to be one of those cards that's going to be up there. They only, if I'm not mistaken, they only run 1 or 2, but it is crucial to the deck right now. Now I want to go a little more in depth, because this one is a meta-based card that is going to see play in some shape or form. It is a Psychic Fusion level 1 that requires 1 Metaphors monster and 1 normal monster. Really easy requirements for the deck to have and make, to say the least. Must be fusion summoned and cannot be special summoned by other ways. Once returned, during your opponent's turn, you can target 1 effect monster on the field and equip it to this card. And obviously, this card will gain defense to the combined original attack of the monster equipped to it. And then you can use monsters you control equipped to this card as fusion materials for the fusion summon of a Metaphors fusion monster that lists them as materials. So primarily what you do is you can suck up something that's a threat. It's a better version of Thousand Eyes Restrict. That is the easiest way to put it. And for this time in Yu-Gi-Oh, you're probably going, oh, that's really not worth it. Shh, it really is. And it is really dumb how they make use of it. Trust me, it is that good. They're just going to sit on it, make a better fusion. It just helps them suck up stuff from there. There's also another Metaphors fusion, so we're going to take time out to go over it. There's a Psychic Fusion level 6. Same requirements, except instead of a normal monster, it has to be a pendulum monster. So very easy to bring out. 2600 attack, doesn't seem all too threatening, but then you get to the effect, and that's where it's really going to shine. You can target 2 Metaphor cards in your graveyard and add 1 card on the field, and you shuffle those targets from your graveyard into the deck, and if you do, you return the target on the field to the hand. You can only use the effect of Metaphors Mithrym once per turn. If this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can special summon Metaphor's Pendulum Monster from your graveyard or face up from your extra deck. That is extremely nifty because of the simple fact it's just sniping, out threats. It's going to take out problem cards that is in the way. And there are going to be variants of Metaphors, and there's plenty of ways to play it. And I'm really interested to see what the TCG player base does with the deck legal and at full power. I'm just really anticipating it. I'm like giddy about it because it's just going to be good. It's going to be a good show. We get to Meteor Black Comet Dragon, which is, of course, I believe I said this about the other one, but I was actually incorrect. This is the new Red Eyes Fusion. I probably called the other one the Monster, the Fusion. Forgive me. I'm an idiot. But this is an okay card. It's good in Red Eyes. You burn your opponent for at least 1,400. It replaces itself when it dies. Again, Red Eyes just held back with so many restrictions. It's really hard to say that this card is good. Be happy if you pull it. Honestly, I'd be understanding why you wouldn't be happy if you pulled it. Super Heavy Samurai also have one more card, and this one's a Synchro. Not really anything that's going to break the deck and go, oh my god, this deck is rogue or meta. I'm sorry if I offend anyone. It's just the freaking truth. I'm sorry. Of course, a Romage have a new Synchro. Really not worth it. Really not worth committing to it. A Romage just need better support. They're so freaking slow. And as the game state moves on, if they can keep their life points high, they're good. There's also a Flower Guardian that is a level 6, which makes it easier for you to do things with them, to say the least. In this one, if a Flower Guardian monster you control attacks a defense monster, inflict piercing battle damage. There's a problem already, because there's only really one monster you're going to use to do that with, and that's a level 8 one. And then you could banish one Flower Guardian monster in your graveyard until the end of your opponent's next turn. Your opponent cannot activate effects of cards in the graveyard, but they also cannot special summon monsters from their graveyard. That's interesting for certain matchups. Not quite what Guardians need to really be out there. Not really something you're going to see that's going to be rogue base. Of course, we talked about the Kristalon Synchros. They're okay. I don't really even know how to say it. Hey, they're not that great. The deck itself, it's interesting, but just not that great. Dulong, first of the Ying Zing. The name alone makes me believe we're going to see the second of the Ying Zing. We're finding out we already have it. He's a really interesting Synchro because he's level 5, and he basically allows you to level manipulate, which is something brand new for Ying Zings that Ying Zings have never had before. He also sends a Ying Zing from the deck to the graveyard to do so. And did I forget to mention he's also a tuner, which makes Crystal Wing plays that much easier for Ying Zings. I'm in love with this damn thing because counter trap card, counter trap card, counter trap card. Yes, 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 yes. In short, don't be surprised if you see a Ying Zing deck pop up once in a while. That would put him at rogue status and possibly even the variant of Metaphors as the meta, the meta version. Let's put it that way. There is the Dark Requiem Exceed Dragon. I'm not a super big fan because, if I'm not mistaken, you need the rank up card to bring this out. And if this was a little bit easier to access for everyone, it would... Oh, wait, no. Hello, I'm an idiot. If this card is dark... Oh, wait, no, you do need the rank up card. Okay, I am not an idiot. I retract my idiot statement. It's interesting for the decks that can bring it out. Pretty much, it just makes Phantom Knight Burning Abyss that much, Hey, look, we can run this now, and we all know how I feel about that one. So, there's that. There's also the Gemini Exceed. Now, I haven't really seen this thing been summoned at all, so I don't really have any stance on it. I think, honestly, Geminis are just not that good if we're talking competitive-wise. They're a fun casual deck to just hope that they get new support. Let's put it that way. I don't want to sound so negative about this shit. Then we get to the Dark Teller Knight. Interesting card. I talked about it a few times on mainly the top 10 countdown. I thought it was pretty cool. And of course, the card you guys want me to talk about. Totally Awesome! It's Street Toad. They called him Totally Awesome because Konami's dumb when it comes to names. What do you want me to tell you? And at the same time, this card is pretty much going to be somewhat meta-defined. It's kind of hard to say either it's going to be meta or it's going to be rogue, but either which way, it's going to be part of the reason why you see a lot more kaiju variants popping up. If ABC's alone weren't a reason for you to stick kaijus in your deck, this will be, because if not, and they drop it on you turn 1, you don't have a way to counteract it. I mean, come on, just the idea of tripping out their boss monster, something that's a threat to you, to your game state, and just instantly outing it right away, 1, 2, 3, it's just so appealing. Get behind it. Trust me, it's okay. Now, for those of you who actually like the totally awesome decks, honestly, I hate decks that are more solitaire based, that are just going to lock you out of playing the game, or just basically cock block you. A Walking Solomon is never fun, and I know how ironic that is considering Ying Zing have one, but at least the Ying Zing one can't recycle itself. At least the Ying Zing one has to have the Ying Zing, which causes interaction with Ying Zing being on board. This thing just 2 water monsters and spits itself out, and when it hits the graveyard, recycles itself. We have a whole guide to your side coming up just for frog variants because of this, to say the least. So much salt in my voice. Amazing Pendulum. Interesting card for the Pendulum deck. Pretty much Magicians left over. Not really going to see too much play to say that, to sound that way. Phantom Knight's rank up magic launch. This is pretty much going to get you Darkest Seed Rebel Dragon. It makes it the Phantom Knight version itself, without Burning Abyss, a lot more playable, to say the least, because you go Break Sword into Exceed Rebel. Exceed Rebel, drop this. Oh god, the damage is real. Now, we are halfway through the set. Flower stacking, it is for the Cardians. So if you're not playing Cardians, you don't really have to worry about it. Super Koi Koi, if I'm not mistaken, that is for the Geminis. Crystonic Potential, again, for Crystons. Full Metaphose Fusion. It's another fusion card for Metaphose, to say the least. I don't know if this one allows you to draw one. I'm not quite sure. I'm not sure how many they run either. Then we get to Catalyst Field, which is your Gemini Field spell card. So if you pull it as an ultra rare, that is a deck that's going to use anything that has Geminis in it. Red Eye's Insight is a rare. I originally believed it was a secret, but I was initially incorrect. Red Eye's Insight is your search card for any Red Eyes card in name, spell card. Again, it holds you back quite a bit. Ignites Unite, interesting card to say the least. Tellarknight Genesis, not really. I don't really see too many people playing Tellarknight Genesis, to be completely honest. A-Cell Recombination Device, interesting that aliens are finally getting love. I wish they would get more than just that. Spirit's Blessing, that is the card that brings out the ritual monster as a secret rare that we talked about. That's good for... So you use this to help out Sapphira pretty much. Then we get to the new Pot card, which is going to 420 your banish zone, put them back, draw 1 card. It's interesting. You can do it on your opponents as well. So if they got those banished out Mizugis or banished outside from Lord Omega, this is now an easy out to that instead of just using, of course, Kaiju everything. That is something you can do. Quarantine, I'm not too sure what this is, to be fair. If I'm being completely honest, I'm not too... Oh, this card. Yes, I remember from the art. Once returned during the end phase, you can target one set spell or trap your opponent controls, reveal it, and return it to original position. It pretty much lets you look at it, but kind of like Light of Intervention, unless it's for one deck that's really going to hurt the shit out of the deck. I mean, guess like Artifacts, there was really not a use for it. And Light of Intervention actually does a lot more work than this will, to be completely fair. King Synchro, interesting. Double Cipher and Cipher Bit, also interesting. Fraud Freeze, Kriston Entry, and Kriston Impact. It's pretty well, 2 of those are Kriston Trap support, spell support. Burnout, Cyframe, Accelerator. I hate Cyframes. I ain't gonna lie to you. Gradell Combat, not really gonna see play. Cleafort's End, it's like Clee Life's End. I'm not even gonna get into that one. 9 Pillars of the Ying Zing. This card is the Ying Zing counter trap card, and you need to be on the watch out for it, because if basically your opponent throws a 0 attack point Ying Zing on the board into attack position with back row, chances are they have this counter trap card waiting for you to activate something. Hence, I'm always saying that the Kaiju outs are just so fucking good, because they really are. Dimensional Barrier. This is the money card of the set, in my opinion. May not be right now, but I definitely do think it's something we're going to see, and something you should keep your eyes open for. Anything that allows you to turn one out, something like pretty much just stop your opponent for one turn, is good in my book. This is pretty much breakthrough skill, but for summoning. So if I call for Exceeds, you can't exceed that turn. If I call for Synchro, if I call for Fusion, now you're probably going, that's nothing. Okay, opponent plays Shadow Fusion. Per example, you flip up this, you call Fusions. Guess what? Shadow Fusion now fizzles because you can't bring out a fusion, but you tried to. It works against ABC Dragon Buster, which gives you an opportunity to draw into something to out it. It gives you something to use against Utopia.deck. It gives you outs. Trust me, it is a great card. There is Summon Gates. Interesting, pretty much main uses against something like Dark Synchro or 20 Synchro Monster through the deck. Synchrons, is that just how it is. Present card, I'm really not a fan of. It's interesting, to say the least. Then Vermilion Dragon Mech. I haven't really talked about this card. Mikey did pull it out of the sneak peek video. Once per turn, you can banish out one tuner from your hand, field, or graveyard, and target one card in the field and destroy it. If this Synchro Summon card is destroyed by a card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can target one of the banished tuners and add it to your hand. I've said this before. It's interesting because you can banish out Sage with the Eyes of Blue, and then get that Sage of Eyes Blue back, but that's Blue Eyes. If it's not Blue Eyes, it's really not that interesting, because it's like the poor man's Trish. Honestly, if this thing is budget, then go for it. But if not, not really. I already did videos for Subterra and Spiral talking about each of them, so I'm just going to summarize what I said there instead of completely reciting everything that I said prior. Subterra. Interesting deck. Falls under rogue status at best, unfortunately, because they focus so heavily on flipping, and at the same time, you burn through your hand pretty quickly with that. I know there is a couple variants that do have some potential for the near future, and it will take a good format and some amazing cards for the deck to really shine. Not calling it bad, just saying it doesn't fall under competitive quite just yet. Spiral is the same way, and people took it the wrong way that I said I kind of feel underestimated. It feels underwhelming compared to how Konami was hyping. Because Konami was hyping it like a hype piece. They were doing the EA thing. They were promoting it, trying to shove it down your throat, getting you excited about it, and it was just like, at least for me. Because I was expecting this deck that was going to rival Burning Abyss in terms of annoyance and in terms of not leaving the meta for 3 years. But we didn't get that. Because that's how it sounded like Konami was doing. Maybe to me. Maybe. Just maybe. But honestly, I'm okay where Spirals are. They have a lot of cool combos. I never called the deck bad. Some people just got mad. So I say it over and over again. Then, of course, there is the Concealer Tempest, Saber Reflect, the Conator and Dino Swing, and Marie, which are imports. They're not really all that great. The last 5 imports you should care about are the Pelzoics, and that is a deck that will at least be rogue, because that is a deck that can probably get the most mileage out of Treat Toad. And it's kind of funny, because that deck is goddamn cheap compared to everything else. Now you're probably saying to yourself, but Ryu, a deck with Treat Toad is not cheap. Okay, so you just came into Yu-Gi-Oh! And you want to spend some money. Base part of the deck for Pelzoic is going to cost you about $40 tops. And then you put in 3 Treat Toads in your extra deck. And of course, all the good rank 2s and whatnot. It's still a lot cheaper than investing with Pot of Desires and all this other stuff, because Pelzoic don't use it. They don't get mileage out of it like other decks do. And that by itself makes the deck pretty cheap. That's why you constantly hear me saying, wow, this is actually pretty cheap compared to these other decks. I do think Pelzoics are probably going to be the one deck to be under the radar and just pop up like a little freaking snake and just grab at the meta. I really do think that. But it's kind of hard to say, because I think they have a bad matchup against ABCs. I may be incorrect when I say that, but I think ABCs right now just outpace them. So keep your eyes open, because that TreatToad.deck, man, that TreatToad.deck. So overall from the set, what you're going to see is Metaphors, TreatToad.deck, Pelzoic, and a couple Subterror popping up, and Spiral. I think Subterra have more people behind it than Spiral right now because they just do the job better. I'm sorry, it's just is what it is. Primarily, if you're just trying to make money from the set, I don't think the set's that amazing to make money from. It's going to be harder because pretty much it's like pull Dimensional Barrier or Tree Toad or go home. Those are going to be the two major chase cards throughout the whole set. The Metaphors card that is secret rare and the Ultra will be seeked for, but this set doesn't quite have the power that Duelist Alliance did. It's going to be a long while before we get a set that is the equivalent of Duelist Alliance. So now this set is not bad at all, and it does have some amazingly, ridiculously powerful cards to be on the lookout for. But these are just my initial thoughts on the set, obviously, and moving forward, you know I'm always going to talk about it more. But that's everything. We went over all 100 cards in a summarized manner that was easier to digest because I did do, believe this or not, I did do the recording for each and every single card, and that just got to be ridiculous how long it was. We were looking at 2 hours. And that's because primarily I like to take time and actually focus in on certain cards, and I just couldn't, guys. I'm sorry if I disappoint anyone when I said in the beginning of the video that, you know, we're pretty much going to dissect every single card. It's near impossible to do that and give you a video that's not over saturated or too long or anything like that. I think this is a pretty much good medium ground, but you guys let me know because I really would love to do this again for another set. I've been sitting here recording for about 4 hours for this video, and that's just today's session. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoy the content and you're brand new, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on anything else. And remember, Wednesday night we will have the set on the channel. 99.99999 guarantee, just how it is. That is the one thing from the council we are consistent on, is that damn Wednesday. I don't know why, it just is. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you on the next video as always.